Hi, hello and welcome back. My name is Reich and today we're back with the Reich Homebook by Jack Willis. And yes, we're going to go back a little bit actually, because having had a go at the breath work and been down on the mat and breathing and feeling and trying it, what can be really useful is to add a bit more detail and a bit more refinement so that we have a really deep understanding of how we're meant to be breathing in this technique. There's so much information in chapters 3 and 4. I've personally found it difficult to take it all in, and so charge on in with a good bit of it and then come back out and refine the technique, and that way we really get a deep understanding of how we're meant to be breathing. And what's interesting, I find, really is that, with two possible exceptions, how Reich described this breathing originally, or how Jack Willis has interpreted Reich, and this is going back 100 years to Reich, and how a modern day breathwork coach, a proper medical scientific person, it's very similar. And the medical scientific person is talking about how we should be breathing all day long. There's only really two differences between what Reich describes and what Willis interprets in his book, and how a modern day expert would really treat everyday breathing. And all Reich is doing is increasing the depth of the breath, really, we're using absolute full breathing to really get in there, and Reich is breathing through the mouth. Whereas today we'd be doing the same technique with the body, but breathing through the nose. And in a sense, this idea of breathing through the mouth or breathing through the nose is a little bit of a misnomer and sets up a funny kind of not really useful concept in our brain. Because actually how we should be breathing is with the muscles of the diaphragm and the belly and the chest, basically. And as we start to use those muscles to create a vacuum in the lungs, so air naturally comes in. And yes, we do have we have our mouth slightly closed, so it comes in through the nose if we're doing it normally, and we breathe through we bring the air in through the mouth if we're doing the Reichian breath. But actually it's not quite so important as a lot of people think. It's not quite so important whether it's nose or mouth as a lot of people think. What is important is that we're using the muscles correct down here. So what's the easiest way to do this? Let's look at how a lot of people breathe, which is not good, basically, whether you're trying to do Reichian breath or whether you're just trying to be a human being and stay alive. And how they breathe is they pull their diaphragm, and your diaphragm is a big muscle around here that stretches back, which is the fundamental muscle that's used to move the lungs to create breathing. They pull the diaphragm up. So if you watch me deep breathing here, you can see my shoulders going up and down, and that means I'm doing it wrong. It's no good for the Reichian technique, and it's no good for normal everyday living. All I'm doing is creating tension in my sternomastoid muscles here, and scalenes and trapezoid. All I'm doing is creating a lot of tension around here, and I'm actually not I'm just not getting energy lower down. My breath is, even though I'm breathing quite deeply, it could be a lot more deep if I was using my abdominals and my diaphragm in a different way. So I think the easiest way to do this is to expose my gut to the world briefly. Now, if you're used to being on Instagram, and this is symptomatic of today's world, what we learn is that we need to keep our belly flat. And guys go to the gym and get a six-pack and all of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that how we should be breathing really is in using the abdominal muscles and pushing them out. Let's take a look. Get my belly out. And basically what it should look is something like this. As I stretch my belly right out and round, and it's really coming out like a little Buddha. I could shed a couple of kilos, but it's just for a technique I want to demonstrate. The muscles that I'm mostly using is my abdominals. My diaphragm is kind of compressing a little bit and widening a little bit. My obliques around here are also coming out a little bit as I breathe in. And I can feel it in my pelvic floor. I can feel the muscles moving, and I can feel a sensation of energy and heat. It's quite a powerful visceral sensation to breathe like this. And in addition, the intercostal muscle, which are the muscles between the ribs, are also inflating and deflating a little. And you notice my I'll just do it again, but you'll notice my shoulders aren't going up and down and my diaphragm isn't coming up. The energy is going to the belly. So this is important, you know. If you want to look good, then of course you don't stick your belly out. But if you want to breathe properly, you need to breathe with this belly coming out. You need to breathe with it coming out. And certainly if you're doing the Reichian technique, it's very, very important. And just doing this on a regular basis will correct an awful lot of issues that you'll have floating around from childhood and whatever, which is just unprocessed stuff, which because of how we've developed our breathing is just continuing. So yeah, it might not look too hot on Instagram, but the fact is if you do this, it's going to correct an awful lot of stuff over time. And there's a sequence that we should be following with this, and that goes like abdomen coming out, and just as it's about out as far as it is, you inflate the chest slightly with the intercostals, and then the abdomen starts to go down, and then the intercostals, the chest muscles start to go down. So belly comes out, chest comes out, belly goes down, chest goes down. And you know, you don't have to wait for one to be complete for the other to start. So just as the belly's coming right up, then the chest starts, and then you know the belly can start to go down, and you don't have to wait till it's gone right down for the chest to go down. Now, you know, this might seem like a lot of energy and effort to put into something which we take for granted and which is an unconscious process, but I can personally guarantee you that if you're willing to put the effort in, you will get results big time. Quite possibly better results than anything you've ever done in your life. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm really not exaggerating here. Because if you can get this belly breathing and this way of breathing correct, then it's really going to correct a lot of other stuff that's going on in your psyche that you may be using other techniques or stuff kind of further up the line, so to speak, to try and correct. We're going to the core when we go to the breathing. Okay, so now we've learned how to breathe properly, basically how to breathe properly, and it's just great to practice this. I notice myself just doing it, it just feels so pleasurable. And you know, if it's tricky, if it's difficult, you know, it is a journey. It is a journey. And with the other exercises we'll be doing in this series, you know, we will be correcting stuff as we go along. And so, you know, I don't want you to try and just think, oh God, this is impossible. Stick at it, whatever you can do. And over time, everything will start to correct and you'll start to feel good. So we looked how, you know, we shouldn't be pulling our shoulders up. Our shoulders shouldn't be moving up at all as we breathe, and our diaphragm shouldn't be pulling our chest up. That's absolutely a no-no. What else can we say about this Reichian breathing and about good breathing? Another aspect to it is, just to make it a little more tricky, so maybe, is ideally these muscles in your lower back also expand a little on the in-breath. And in fact, let's just get down. So when we're doing our Reichian breath, just take a look what it looks like. What can happen is, and even there are some postures which do this, is that you rotate the pelvis a little bit like this. But when we're practicing the Reichian breath, we don't want to do this. Ideally, you want your lower back pretty much in contact with the floor. Now, everyone's back profile is a little bit different, so you know that may or may not happen for you, even with your knees up, which makes it easier. But ideally, you want that. What you don't want is to be. You can see now my pelvis is rotating a little bit, which can be kind of natural, but and we will be working with exercises like that in this series, but we want to be able to do it without doing that. That's important. So keeping my lower back in contact with the mat, breathing in and out. And I can actually feel the muscles in my lower back just very slightly expanding on the in-breath. That's another good sign that you're getting it right. Okay, so I think that's about enough for this week. Do give it a go and do keep practicing, because you know my personal experience has been that recently working with the breath has been the deepest thing that I've done. I was doing sea swimming for quite a while. In fact, I'm still doing sea swimming, and somewhere that trained me to breathe properly, going into that shocking cold water every day for 15-20 minutes, I think it reactivated a quite primal process in my brain, and I just started belly breathing better than I was before. And so you don't need to do that, but if you just practice with this and keep practicing with it, it will create vast improvements in your life. Okay, cool. So I'll see you back again next week for some more of the Reich Homebook, and we'll keep on going deeper with it. Keep practicing, keep working at it. Don't be looking for the quick fix. Get in there and work, and you'll get the results. Thank you.